Welcome back, welcome back. If the Republican race is hard to call, the Democratic one is just as interesting, with Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton locked in battle for the party's nomination. I spoke to journalist, author, and indeed Hillary supporter, Tina Brown, and asked her for her view on the race so far.
The campaign has really become this immensely exciting, reality TV, which people are just gripped by. All kinds of people who aren't remotely interested in politics now are glued to their nightly news. I mean, now that we have the Republicans each having won a state, we yet have Florida to come, and we might see Rudolph Giuliani suddenly grabbing Florida, in which case we have all these candidates on an equal sort of dead heat. And then, of course, the whole excitement with the upset when everyone expected Obama to win New Hampshire and Hillary Clinton won, that has become an absolute race to the death as well. So it's pretty gripping.
It is, and there's even race and racism have come into the picture, and gender may come into the picture too, I suppose.
Well, gender has very much come into the picture since, of course, Hillary Clinton broke down and wept in New Hampshire, which a lot of people, including me, actually feel drove women to her corner. And it's certainly true that Hillary had almost forgotten to be a woman in the campaign. She kind of was so eager to show that she was a suitable commander-in-chief that it was as if she almost desexed herself and forgot that there are a lot of women who only supported her because of the feeling that she was one of us who was going to finally break the glass ceiling. And two things really turned it around for her, not just the weeping, but the debate on the few days before, where one of the questions was, nobody really finds you likable. Why don't you think you're likable? And she very humorously said, that hurts my feelings. And she smiled, and it was very beguiling. And Obama looked at her and said, you're likable enough, Hillary, in a very sort of male kind of put down kind of way. And I know how I felt. I just thought, well, aren't you cocky? It's like, here's this woman being so valiant. And here you are, like all men always do, basically, underestimating her. And it just kind of brought women out of their corner. I know my 17-year-old daughter was rooting for her after that.
That's fascinating, because he probably didn't mean it that way, but it came out wrong, because earlier on he was more magnanimous than Hillary in defeat and so on.
Actually, as he's become more of a kind of front runner, he has got somewhat cocky, and I think that he has to watch that, actually. He has to watch that he doesn't seem to have an air of entitlement himself about this nomination. And also, I think that a lot of people, particularly women, didn't want to see her go down in humiliation. Even if she loses ultimately, it was felt by women in particular not right that she should have been knocked out of the running so fast. We want to see Hillary at least fight the good fight and go the distance. So I think that actually a lot of people are rooting for her now.
And in fact, I mean, I suppose she is slightly the favourite over Obama, because the Clinton legions will swing into action, I suppose.
She still has the edge nationally, yes. But she probably will lose South Carolina because it's a very large black state. It may not be actually to Obama, though. It may also go to John Edwards, who is the other sort of favourite son of the state. That will diminish her momentum somewhat. So then we come to Super Tuesday, when 25 of the states vote. It looks, of course, as if she'll win New York, where she's a senator. But the other states are very much, in play. And the Clinton legions are there, but there's also quite a lot of people now who feel they don't want a restoration. That, in fact, what America does need, particularly internationally, is a new face who can go out in the world and be genuinely a page turned. But I think that what's working in Hillary Clinton's favor is the economy, because it does look now as if we're entering a recession, and there's no doubt that Clintons have a terrific record on the economy. People remember how well Bill Clinton handled the economy. And Hillary herself, she's a great manager. She does exude competence. She is, as she says, ready. She's prepared. And I think that people will feel strongly, if that's the case, that Hillary is the best person to roll up her sleeves and fix a recession.
Yes, the other side of it would be that the people who privately deplored the Clintons when they were in power and will take the opportunity in the privacy of the election booth to state what they thought about some policy of the Clinton administration.
No question. And furthermore, of course, the Republicans are very much hoping the nominee is Hillary, because they do feel that she brings out the Republican anti-Hillary vote and replaces the passion gap that's there for the candidates. I mean, the Republicans may have a rather tepid feeling about the Republican candidates, but what unites them all is their desire not to see Hillary Clinton in the White House. So for the Republicans, it's very good news if Hillary's the nominee.
And so they'd like that.
They'd like that.
Who are they going to end up with themselves?
I myself still have my money on John McCain. I've always had my money on McCain, even when he was in the slump last year. Only because I look around and I see how he's the only one with credibility. He's the only one with international experience, with experience to deal with a terrorist attack, with the ability to call on years of relationships all over the world. I think that he will make the greatest sense. But on the other hand, he is a bit weak when it comes to the economy. You know, it's not his long suit. He never pretends really that financial issues are his strength. Perhaps he'll be able to find a vice president who somehow kind of gives the impression that they might bring that to the ticket. But if we're in a real slump, it could be, of course, that Mitt Romney seems more and more attractive because he's a businessman.
And at the same time, of course, with the war, the support that John McCain gave to the war, for longer than Hillary, although Hillary voted for the war too, but in fact, since the war is going a bit better, as it were, it's not quite the ticking time bomb it was.
No, the war has really left the sort of the front burner of most Americans at this point. John McCain can actually accurately claim that he advocated the surge of troops even before Bush did, and then of course supported it to the hilt, and indeed it does seem to be working. It's certainly working probably enough and long enough to keep the war from being off the front pages during this election cycle, which is of course what everybody wanted in the political race.
So at the moment, that's where it stands, and as you say, the question is, will Giuliani get into the race by winning in Florida? His figures in Florida at the moment are not that great. But
no, well, he's made a tremendous miscalculation, and it's quite interesting that Rudy Giuliani, who has been this big sort of poster boy for sort of the Republican frontman, who has been Mr. 9/11, actually seems to have greatly misplayed his hand, because he's grandstanded his election campaign and basically said, I'm going to cut out all the little states and I'm just going to play for the big ones. What he underestimated is, I think Americans like a fighter. They like to feel that their candidate is out there sweating, fighting, scrapping it up, mixing it up, and genuinely fighting for their nomination and what they believe in. And the people in the so-called little states, it's kind of an offensive concept that you're only going to be a guy who's playing a numbers race. I think he really misjudged it. And
that's right. And in addition to that, I mean, he missed out on lots of publicity, because Iowa this year had twice as many journalists there than ever before, and New Hampshire and so on. And that's a hell of a, as we've seen, a momentum giver.
An absolute momentum giver. I mean, those candidates rolled out of those states with this huge wind at their backs. And, primetime television, covers of Newsweek and Time, and where's he been? He's been Mr. Invisible. So he's blown it, in my view. But, this election is such a kind of, roller coaster. Yeah. Maybe it'll play out for him. Who knows?
Great to see you, Tina.
Thank you.
Our thanks there to Tina Brown. Now, the major issues in this election are really becoming pretty clear. The faltering US economy is perhaps the main concern, as we touched on with Tina, but illegal immigration, and in particular leaky border with Mexico, is the other big talking point. So where exactly do the candidates stand on this issue, and can any of them make a difference to their success or failure rating by using this issue? I'm joined by Julia Sweig of the Council on Foreign Relations. Welcome, Julia.
Thank you so much.
This is one of the two big issues, isn't it, really?
Oh yes, it absolutely is.
And what about the different points of view? Is anybody, do you think, got a winning line on this among the candidates?
Right now, immigration is so hot and so difficult. I think neither the Republicans nor the Democrats have figured out how to maneuver around it. On the Republican side, clearly John McCain is the only one who, in my view, has a position that, because of his credentials as tough on security in Iraq and globally, domestically his support for a comprehensive immigration reform where you give citizens a path to legalization and allow the border to be strengthened and have tough security at the same time could be a winning position, but it has hurt him in the past, earlier in the campaign, with his base. On the Democrat side, I think there's pretty much agreement that we need a comprehensive immigration reform package, but that because Americans are feeling so insecure on the economic front, they too have to have a tough line vis-a-vis security and then put something together in 2009 as well. But across the board, Republican and Democrat, there's a lot of nervousness on this issue.
And in terms of the public, to what extent are they just wanting to hear someone getting tough with potential immigrants?
The American public is in a xenophobic mood right now, but also understands that following the law is part of its American ethos. So I think that a politician once taking the White House in 2009 might be able to square the circle and might be able to take a tough line and a rule of law and order position, but also a human position, a moral position that recognizes that we're a nation of immigrants and this is a globalized economy and we have to accommodate that.
And if the person can find that and convincingly find it, that could be an election winner.
Well, I am very skeptical that during this election campaign we'll be able to find that position. However, if we have somebody like John McCain on the Republican side, and any Democrat really, especially if it's Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama, then I think we'll be able to have a debate between the two of them that begins to show some leadership and calm down the intensity of this fearfulness and xenophobia that some on the extremes have really magnified.
Thank you very much indeed.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Great to have Julia with us, wasn't it? Yes? After the news headlines, the one and only George Clooney will be with us. Don't go away.